What's not to love? It's my life.
Way of mine.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You talking to me?
Hey, morning or afternoon, whatever time it is. But if you're listening to this at like 3 a.m. and you're alone, I hope you're okay. Hi, I'm Jason, and man, I wanted to do this for a really long time, and now that I'm talking, of course, just feel like I am swimming in knives. And you know what? Let's rewind. Hot start. Who am I and why? Right. I'm Jason. I am a regular dude from New York. Oof. Man, how do you describe yourself without going off on a 27-hour tangent? It's not like I don't have certificates or anything. Yeah, fuck that. Let's just say I'm a regular guy and talk about shit things. I do wanna curse less. I do wanna curse less. So let's work on centering myself or making like a swear jar. Fucking tip myself. But that intro you just heard, I made that myself 5-6 years ago, probably longer, on a little dopey Chromebook. Super weak. Like, it was so hard to work on that Chromebook, but I still love it, and I just dug it up recently actually to make sure that I could find this file. I've also tried quote unquote podcasting before, or just recording conversations with people. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, like I said, and I don't know, just I guess it's hard to find direction, you know? That goes for a lot of things. Something this is at the front of my mind, oddly. Not the podcasting bit, but that something that comes to mind about loss of direction is last night was watching UFC with friends and family, and this has nothing to do with UFC, but at some point we were discussing reading in a classroom as a child, and you know, or I assume you know, there are times when a teacher, and let's say it's maybe the, I don't know, 3rd grade, 4th grade, a teacher will call on someone, you know, to read. They're a great reader, right? That's awesome. That always makes things easy. Sometimes you could tell when someone's like the really cocky reader. I think I was one of those people, like ready, willing to raise my hand until it's just like, ugh, come on, bro, someone else do this shit. And as such, you know, eventually someone got picked who had a really hard time reading. You may have been one of those people. And as children, sometimes you laugh. Sometimes, even as a child, you kind of roll your eyes and you're just like, oh, fuck, man. It's Apple. It's fucking Apple. And the kid's struggling to get through that first syllable. It's cringy. It's rough. But what I did wonder was, what was the teacher thinking? Oh, okay. Hit me with a positive, right? To better encourage their reading skills, public speaking, you know? Maybe to just measure their progress. Gotcha. But as a kid, a thought that never, ever, ever, ever crossed my mind, which crosses my mind now, is what the fuck? What was the teacher thinking? Just curious. Like, I don't ever recall looking at my teacher and wondering. I don't ever recall thinking about the teacher at all. I would remember listening to a reader or trying hard to ignore the reader to read on my own, if I wasn't already completely tuned out of the entire room and disassociated, like just a dead 7-year-old vessel in a room. But yeah, I just wondered, man, like the best I could do is, I mean, outside of asking an actual teacher or one of my own, you gotta pretend you're the teacher. What would I be thinking? What am I eating for lunch? You know, am I gonna get that second date? I it's been 6 months and Jeremy can't fucking read. You know, I just wondered, were they like willing? I mean, there wasn't a cell phone at least not at my time. There wasn't a cell phone, right? I'm not 80 years old here, but I don't recall cell phones being a thing at all yet. Probably what, mid early 90s. Um, just made me curious. So if I don't know, you let me know if it were you. Wrong answers only? Is that how this works? What do you think you would be thinking? If not, what did you think your teacher may have been thinking? Assuming you were schooled in a room of other children. Is that public schooling? Yeah. Oof. Schooling, so bizarre, weird blip of like a quarter of your life. If you happen to make it past that, at least. Yeah, private schooling, another whole discussion that I'm not prepared to have right now, to be honest with you. Would I have preferred private schooling? Nah. Nah. Not doubting any efficiency for it. Just yeah, interesting. So I'm reeling back the film in my head, trying to go back to childhood, right? Like at home, mind you, not forget the school, the classroom, forget that part, forget the teacher and whatever, all the other damn kids, forget Jeremy, you know. Also forget the asshole who was the class bully that hit me in the back of the head with a dictionary, and my head went forehead first into the table. Not the flat part, the edge. Yeah, I'd be so interested to hear the unintended. Is it unintended? Sure, the unintended abuse that has happened as a child in public. Hopefully, the stories don't get too dark. But anyway, so I'm imagining at home, homeschooling, right? Imagining the home again, going backwards. My God, was it loud? It's always loud, and it's always so quiet around me now. But you know, I spent a lot of time as a kid in my grandma's house. I did not live there. I was just there very often. Probably till, oh man, 14, 15. Every day after school, every weekday after school. Be at my grandma's house, waiting for my mom to get out of work to take me back home. My mom worked in a diner, not too far, maybe a block or two away. Still would drive. Would still drive. I remember that being a joke in the family, here and there. So where we lived, my mother and I, was about 2 blocks away from work, and then another 2 blocks in another direction was my grandma's place. Imagine it like a triangle, if that's any way to draw the map in your head. And she would drive and would go through the misery and stress of having to find parking, because we lived by Yankee Stadium, especially during seasons, impossible to find parking. She definitely was not one to pay extra for a garage. Screw that. Totally with her on that. But things that we could do walking were never walked to, you know, walked for. In comparison, now as an adult, I'm also aware this is completely off track from school. We'll try to get back there. But in comparison to now as an adult, I walk everywhere. I don't have a car of my own. I don't even have a bicycle. I mean, that'd be nice. That's a lie. It's not nice. I bought a bicycle at some point in my mid-20s. Well, why? Anyway, I bought a bicycle thinking, I guess I thought it was a cool thing, right? I knew some guys who rode their bikes everywhere, and I even had a job as a delivery boy. Ooh, all these branches coming off this tree. But I even had a job as a delivery boy, and I don't want to say I was forced, but it was very strongly encouraged that I use the store bicycle. And I guess I decided to get my own. You know, why not? Right? If I'm going to ride a bike at work, might as well get used to it and ride a bike at home for myself, have fun, travel with it, whatever. Not a good choice. I remember taking it home. I think I rode it around the park outside. And later that day, took that bitch right back to the store. Why? Because bikes aren't for me. Not a bike guy. Just not. I like give me a stationary one that I can, you know, burn that imaginary rubber at home, sweat in a little nice contained space. All about it. But outdoor biking, not for me right now. I don't want to dodge kids and dogs or vehicles. And about bicycling at work for man, are we ever gonna stay on one topic? But about cycling, about riding a bike for work as a delivery boy in Manhattan. Not fun, not fun. You, at least those who are familiar with Manhattan, just it's a grid, right? It's just a big old bitch of a grid, and just go straight or vertical or horizontal. Doesn't matter. You're going straight. At least most of my images of Manhattan are so. Not where I was. Potholes the size of my body. You know, trucks with really big, rattly construction stuff in the back end of it. You know, noise, lots of noise, and just that's a common thread there. Noise. Just so much noise and just loud voices, loud vehicles, horns. The exhaust of vehicles, you know, a fragile thing, a human, me, on a bicycle around these armored, much faster, more capable vehicles who could withstand a pothole a lot better than I could. After that first day of biking, I was done. I think at one point I even got off the bike and just walked it back to the store. So, and just to wrap that up for now, how did I continue delivering? On foot, motherfucker. I power walked my ass to deliveries on goddamn time within that zone, and it worked out fantastic. It totally worked out fantastic, unless I got lost. But that's, again, another story. So, to rewind, noise, homeschooling, yes, home. Home was loud. I remember being loud. You know, and my grandma's particularly, a lot of Spanish shouting, and I'm strongly so not a fan of. I'm not a fan of aggressive language to begin with. Granted, I swear a lot, but just I remember my grandma as a child in my ears constantly arguing. You know, I've got 5 uncles. It's my grandma and my 5 uncles in a home, and everyone was busy. You know, they're all working. But one uncle in particular, I can't. He had a mental disability, but what is it specifically? You know, like the really finer details. I don't know. No, I don't know. I never asked. You know, I was never told. I'm just aware of it, and much like maybe you would shout at a pet that just maybe this is difficult because you know I don't mean to speak negative on the guy. I'm just trying to build a picture, I guess. But much like how maybe you would speak to a pet who's a nuisance to you, perhaps, or maybe a child that is very persistent, you know, which can grow into being a nuisance. Much like that, it was a parent constantly, for some reason, shouting at the child. And maybe it wasn't always arguing. I just recall loud Spanish language. And if it wasn't that, where I'm just sitting in the sala, I always say sala out of habit. Sala means living room. SALA. And I remember just sitting there or laying there. I'm getting all these images in my head now, various times where I would be on a Game Boy playing Tetris, or I'd be playing with Lego blocks, or I'd be watching cartoons, or sometimes I'll just look out the window because I'm waiting for my mom, you know? But it got to that point eventually where my mom showed up, and I don't know her that well, to be sincere with you. My mom passed when I was much younger. I cannot be absolutely certain about the age I was, but it was definitely around the later end of being 15 years old. But anyway, my mother would come home to my grandmother's house, sorry, to pick me up, to take me back home. And it was louder. Again, in Spanish. And as a child, I just don't know. Like, I mean, some key words maybe at the time, but nothing specifically sticks out of my memory, like particular words. And it just got louder, and then they would talk loudly. And that one uncle I discussed, who, was perhaps a nuisance to my grandmother, would also interject and it get louder. Sometimes my sister, who I grew up with, maybe would be there, maybe not. It would get louder. My other uncles would be there who perhaps were just as sick of it as I was. It would get louder. And a strange memory I have, I'm trying to keep this contained and not split off into too many thoughts again, But a strange memory I would have was laying on the floor of the living room, which is fine. It wasn't a bad thing I was laying down. That was by choice, trust me. And I'd be on the ground, and first off, one of the thoughts I would have is when I was flat on my back with my skull on the floor, is sometimes there'd be a pressure in the back of my head. Not like a headache. It didn't hurt whatsoever. It was a feeling I recall. And I used to be very fearful that my head would just split open. It would just, like a coconut perhaps or something. And I'd be on the floor there with my brain pouring out. I don't know. That's a weird thought. Another one was, and this one was strongly due to the noise that I keep discussing. Another memory is, I'd lay there, and maybe I was tired, and everything would darken, much like when you fall asleep, but you're not really asleep. You're just in that in-between stage because there's noise or whatever. And I'd be in that blackness, I guess. You fade in and out. And I would hear the noise, and the noise would just quietly everything would go away. And much like turning a volume dial down, just go away. And then it would slowly ramp back up. Just turn the dial back the other way, and it would just tick, 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 tick. It became so loud. It was like I was screaming in my head. It was different. It wasn't the standard, sense of hearing. Like I know what that sounds like. And again, maybe I was falling asleep, right? And just more sensitive, but it would raise so loud where it just felt like everything I heard that I didn't really understand, nor did I want to hear, was contained in my head suddenly. And all these sounds were just reverberating off the walls of my head. It was just so fucking loud. I never complained to anyone about it. At least not that. I did have a little piece of shit attitude as a child. And of course, I say of course, it may have in some way or another stemmed from all this loud noise, the volume, the aggression in the room. But I've never really told anyone as a kid about that moment. I've tried perhaps twice ever as an adult, and things come, things go. But I remember that as a child, and trying to re-envision myself being homeschooled under those conditions, that ain't happening, bro. No way. So if anything, hey, high five to any of you who are homeschooling children or have been homeschooled successfully. It was definitely very noisy where I grew up. And there's something in there I mentioned about, what was it? Trying not to go off on another. Oh, well, there he goes. Just drift away to forgetfulness. Ooh, my. All right, when I got hit with the head with a dictionary. What is up with people? What the hell? Aggression. I guess I'm just not a fan of aggression. I enjoy. I opened this up by saying I was watching UFC. Excuse me, last night with friends and family. Online, not even side by side. Like we just hop in a chat room online, and I pulled up the feed and I stream it for them privately, and we watch it together. Like, we're in the same room, but we're not, so to speak. Anyway, just not a fan of aggression. Not a fan of myself getting to that point ever of having to be aggressive with anyone, whether it's to tell them to shut up, leave me alone, you know, defending myself. I'd rather not. What a just not my favored state of being. And when it comes from others, it's difficult to manage. As an adult, absolutely. Excuse me. I'm like, I don't know. As I keep speaking, I just feel like there's a burp I was trying to suppress that whole time. Anyway, that's a habit right there. I've caught myself in prior recordings. Anyway, another thing. Perhaps I should tip myself for that too. Tip myself for swearing, and tip myself for poor habits. It's strange. I'd be treating myself for things I want to change. Anyway, ooh, there it is again. So, aggressive people. Not that you can't be aggressive, you know? Be you, bro. Whatever. Well, I'm not you, you're you. If you're involved with me, if you're in my space, I guess, if you're in my bubble, whatever, and you're aggressive though, yeah, bro, chill out. And it's hard to make people make forgive me. It's hard to suggest or tell someone about their attitude, I guess would be the word, or their being, and how to adjust it better for the sake of your relationship. You might hear that word from me a lot going on here if there's further recordings, right? Just not a fan of being told what to do, which is, you know, I guess hypocritical right off the bat after what I just said. Not a fan of aggressive language towards others, such as if, imagine we're in public and maybe something bothers you, you know, upsets you, or you have an opinion, and it goes outward towards someone who's not in your bubble, has nothing to do with your life. And the critique, the words spoken are just very unnecessarily hostile or just shitty. Just not a fan of shittiness. It sucks. It sucks even more when you're accidentally shitty and you don't know you're being shitty. I reached out to someone perhaps a month or two ago based off a not very great whim. It was my horoscope. I read my horoscope. Do you guys have the CoStar app? This is not an advertisement, but hey, it can be. I just shot the thumbs up. There's this app called CoStar, CO-star, and it reads you your birth chart, gives you a daily horoscope. If your friends have the app, it also kind of starts cross-associating with your friends. So if a friend of yours happens to be in a particular sign, or their chart is formed a certain way where it may interact with you for this particular day or month or year, it will let you know which friend that is, and it will, it's hard to say if it's 1,000% concrete, but it will suggest perhaps ways to communicate, or similar difficulties, similar strengths, and such. So I only have like 2 or 3 friends on there. I don't see a whole roulette of what if, what could be, whatever. And at this particular time, a friend of mine who happens to be, I guess, an ex. Look at that hesitation. It'd be disrespectful to not call her an ex-girlfriend. Great person, great person. Really, I got nothing against the person. Even then, now, whenever, it doesn't matter. Great person. Had a lot of fun with that person. And we're all going through different things at different times. Never know. And whatever it was at this particular time that called to me, in this horoscope, at the very bottom of it, it was this friend. And the way it detailed, I guess, reaching out to this friend, for me it was like, wow, like, this isn't as easy as it sounds, but well, let's take a shot, right? And just as my safety net, like a scapegoat, I screenshot I screenshot what the app says, you know. And when I reach out to this person, I preface a lot, and maybe I over explain a lot, but I say what I want to say, perhaps as briefly as I could. You know, I include the screenshot, you know, and I'm trying to be positive. Like, of course, you're trying to be positive. You're trying to, sorry, you, I'm talking to myself. I guess I can't say you. I'm trying to be positive and just trying to communicate, trying to keep it brief. You don't want to be overbearing, you know. It's I feel that there's difficulty sometimes through texting where, you know what, let's say communication, and I'll divide that. I'll divide my meaning of communication later, perhaps. But when you're trying to communicate with someone and you may feel overbearing to how much you're saying, like, it's a lot, or it looks like a lot. I mean, you can. Our smalls. Our phones aren't that big, really. I mean, they're. Come on, our phones aren't that large. So perhaps something that sounds like 3 sentences could seem like a dreadful paragraph at times. I get that, and I hate that feeling when um I'm applying that dreadful. I'm just sorry, my phone's vibrating. It's distracted me. Um. Anyway, back to the point, right? So I send the text, I send a screenshot, and the reply I get back is, "Hey, thanks for thinking about me, but right now I'm too busy dealing with my own shit to deal with your negativity." Uh, okay. You know, perspective. I was, granted, already hesitant and concerned about my own approach. Like, oh, I hope this doesn't get viewed the wrong way. Like, I'm legitimately just, again, trying to be positive and optimistic or whatever. You know, sometimes it's really just, hey, I miss you. I'm curious to know how you're doing. Um, but you know, your intent does not necessarily equal your result. And that's something I've repeated to a few friends, as if I'm like, who's a great quote artist? Because I do think you can make quotations, quoting some kind of artistry. You know, it's like poetry. But yeah, your intention does not always equal your result. And I intended just to, you know, enjoy, I guess, that light in a time that you may assume or just never know that someone is desiring or cherishes, or maybe wants to remind you. And it doesn't matter sometimes. It doesn't go that way, you know. And I just find that fascinating and bizarre, and it's hard to call it disappointing because it feels a little insulting to call it disappointing, because you just never know what someone else is going through. How did we get here? I don't remember. Maybe it's when I got hit with that dictionary, you know, in elementary school. Aggressive people, right? I'm not a fan of aggressive people. I try to. I don't enjoy being submissive. It's just I have there's so few things that I can think of to fight for. It's hard to leave that hanging empty, you know? Like, will I fight for love? Love, that's another one where that word alone can be a nuclear bomb, or it can be thrown around casually, friendly. Make people smile. People you love, make the people you love smile. Maybe someone loves you various ways. Maybe you have multiple loves, various reasons. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm forgetting what I'm saying a lot. I should have had a coffee or something. But aggressive people are very difficult to manage, and I guess as time goes on, I have to not think about regretting what I did or didn't say, could have done. In regards to person to person relations here. And if anyone's hearing this who I guess has doubt that I love them at whatever volume that may be, I mean, the fact that you have this available to you at all, because this is not available to everyone right now, it means, in you know, some way or another, I love you. Thank you. You know, thank you very much. Thank you for. Oh, it's been 30 minutes. I had no idea. Thank you for bothering. You know, and it doesn't have to be every day. You know, you can you can love me once a month. You know, and I hope that's okay. Sometimes we want more. Sometimes we want less. But perhaps the truth can hurt is just more of a necessity than, you know, putting on some gloves and trying to hit bitches. I don't mean hitting women necessarily. I just mean people, you know, wanting to fight, wanting to let people know you're right, you're wrong, you know, piece of shit, whatever. It's difficult. Whether it's your friends or family, it's hard to. I mean, it's not hard to say relax, but it is. It is hard. It's never that easy, especially if someone's got something to say, because that is time. It takes time. It's energy. We've got a bunch of it. We've got a lot of it. You're whatever you're doing with your day. We've got time. But we also have responsibilities. We have countless thoughts, distractions, preferences. You know, even worse of all, guilt. When you feel guilty to redirect yourself. If it's willing, God bless you. But if you feel that maybe you don't belong, or maybe deep down this doesn't feel lovely. As hard as it may be, you gotta be yourself. You know, I told another friend recently, a male friend, we had a little bit of a spat. I don't even think it's worth getting into the details of that particular spat. It's pretty silly. I felt offended by something extremely silly. It was unnecessary, you know? Maybe yeah, I'm sorry. We'll spare the details on that, but you know, I reached out to understand, like, why, how? Like, you know what? Before even the why and the how, this is why I responded the way I did. I would like to know if it's possible. Again, why, how? You know? Much longer story short, I received a reply, an apology, and it was confessed to me that, you know, they avoid conflict. Which is understandable. For me, I understand that, avoiding conflict. And to wrap that up in a little bow really quick is I felt that it is difficult to approach conflict And it is much more difficult to be honest and perhaps shameful. You know, going back to the word submissive, perhaps. And about words, there will be words used by me, at least I can say for myself. And maybe this is good to take on for yourself, for anything you ever hear, whenever your time comes. You know, it's sometimes there's words we hear that we believe mean a particular thing. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Someone calls you an asshole, I don't think they're trying to tell you that they love you. That's not the first thought. You can be with someone you love or understand, and it may not hit. You know, the word asshole may not hit you. That's okay. Good for you. You know, hopefully it's legit and it doesn't hurt you. But there are words that maybe your relationship may be on that seesaw, or it's new, or you just got doubts, and you hear a word and it hits, and it may not mean what you think it means. Maybe the right word just wasn't thought of first, and that's okay. Forgiveness, understanding, communication. It's up to it's not up to you. It is the relationship. Relationships desire understanding. And I think our minds are just automatically you know, if we're not capable of defining something new, if we're not capable of finding a new meaning, like, well, what did you mean? You know, educate me. Let me in your mind. And inevitably so, comparisons. You'll start perhaps discussing, well, this is what that word meant to me. And that's mutual understanding, discussions, perhaps disagreements. But if we're not defining something new, it's just associative. You're going to think of that word or that moment, and your brain kind of goes on autopilot for just a split second without you knowing, and it associates. The last time I heard this word, you know, meant this. The last time I heard that tone was because of that. The last time this felt like it happened to me, it went this way. So on and so on and so on. It's hard to divide yourself from your experience. It's hard to make time for new absorption, understanding, relationships. It's hard to make sure sometimes that you stand your ground, you are who you are, without being an asshole. But who's to say, right? Maybe you've got reasons, much like the words chosen from someone that weren't totally thought out. Perhaps no one really thought out why you're the way you are, or even yourself. It takes time. But whatever. Thank you for your time. This can go so many ways. I should wrap it up. I do want to also say that I was scrolling down Instagram. Let's see, 3-4 days ago. I've been trying to commit to this idea of podcasting, recording myself, journal, like a live journal. No association whatsoever to the old school live journals on the internet that were like a blog. I had one of those. Moving on. And I'm searching for ideas, and I'm looking for, like, what can I share with people? You know, I had a friend, great friend, give me just a big chunky list of ideas. A lot of them I had already considered. Some of them are just way out of my realm. Some of them are intriguing. I don't know if I do it. The intriguing one, let me tell you that, would be more so outgoing. You know, I'd be somewhere. Think of it. I'd be doing something whatever, name it. And just documenting the experience and discussing it afterward, and perhaps what I learned, how I felt, you know, the highlights, whatever. Yeah, big list. Thank you to that person, Taryn. Mwah. Anyway, but I was scrolling down Instagram, just seeking insight, seeking stuff that caught my attention, and man, there was just hit after hit after hit. I took so many screenshots of things that I would like to just give a little light to. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. But when I first read them, I'm not looking at them now. I'm purposely not. I'm purposely trying to avoid looking at my phone because I will save this for next time. But I will touch on those, and let's see if I can expand on anything. And hopefully it holds up, right? If it doesn't, whoops. I'd also like to speak to people. I'm in no rush to speak to people on here as a guest, a friend, stranger, whatever. I'm not objecting to it, but I'm also in no rush to do it. I do believe I would enjoy it whenever that may happen. But for now, again, thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. Have a great morning. Get some sleep. I don't know what the hell you're doing, but peace.